Today we're going to talk about 5 luxury SUVs that you can buy for multiple price ranges. I'm talking sub 100k, 50k, 25k, 15k and 7.5k. Let's get straight into it. Let's kick this video off with a car that has absolutely plummeted in price to a point where I dread to think what even the wealthiest owners are feeling, the Aston Martin DBX. From brand new, not even adjusting for inflation, these have dropped by up to 60% in value, over £100,000 in those cases. Absolutely mental. Whoever you are, losing 100k is not fun. Interestingly, it was the opposite for Aston though, as this car was designed as a bit of a financial lifeline. They were not doing well from a cash perspective, and the DBX was an attempt, similar to the Cayenne for Porsche, to break into the massively popular SUV market. The car was actually built in a converted World War II aircraft hangar, but tested all over the place, including off-roading in the Arabian desert, to prove both its 4x4 prowess and its comfort and luxury in such aggressive conditions. These come with the same engine as some AMG Mercedes and the Aston Martin Vantage, a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 block that makes 542 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 4.5 seconds, which roguely means it actually isn't the quickest car on the list, despite being the most expensive. Add on the premium quality materials on the interior with Aston Martin CEO approved seats and the intelligent suspension setup that can literally adapt to maximum comfort or sportiness, and you're in something pretty luxurious. For me, this is a cheaper equivalent to getting something like a Urus or Purosangue, though I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the exterior looks. I mentioned depreciation has been bad, proven by £72,000 being the minimum I could find these listed for, and 100k will get you into a 2022 model that's done around 30,000 miles. These have actually had a few common problems early doors with battery drain and infotainment system malfunctions, as well as structural issues like failures with the boot. There have also been some electrical related recalls and some due to oil cooler hoses and front propeller shaft fasteners. Outside of that though, this is the newest car on the list, so you'd hope they'd be easier to live with. As we cut the budget down to 50k, we get into a car that's arguably more luxury focused than the DBX we just spoke about, the Bentley Bentayga, built on the same platform as the Lamborghini Urus, but with more of Bentley's typical British vibes both outside and in. I love how much testing goes into these luxury SUVs, considering they normally end up just driving around cities and on motorways, but one specific Bentayga test car handled minus 30 degrees C in the snow and 50 degrees C in sandstorms without a single major parts failure. The idea behind this car is to offer maximum luxury in all scenarios, and this car took that luxury to silly levels. You could actually spec one of the world's most expensive individual interior options onto this car, the Bentayga Mulliner Tourbillon, a self-winding Breitling clock made of either rose or white gold with diamonds numbers on the face, coming in at a whopping cost of around $170,000. That's a serious flex in a car that's depreciated as heavily as the Bentayga. You'll get yourself a typical Bentley 6-litre twin turbocharged W12 engine, making 599 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4 seconds, so this is the quickest car on the list, quicker than that Aston we just spoke about. The engine was also designed to be incredibly quiet, for luxury purposes of course, and there were some other crazy spec options too, like a falconry edition that comes with a perch for a Falcon, custom leather trimmed storage for the Falcon's gear, a GPS for your Falcon, and a hot stone compartment to keep the bird warm between flights. Just a reminder, this is a car. It also has lights designed after champagne flutes, leather from northern European cows that don't get as many mosquito bites or barbed wire scars. It's all luxury in the Bentayga. £45,000 is the minimum that I can find these listed for, and 50k is enough for a 2016 example that's done around 70,000 miles. That W12 is well known at this point, but camshaft failures and a few leaks are known with it, which can be catastrophic for your bank balance. Some owners have also mentioned issues with the gearbox depending on which mode it's in, and the infotainment system has received some grief for being slow and clunky. And of course, as with many luxury cars, the air suspension can fail or leak over time and be a costly replacement. Let's cut the budget in half again and talk about the Mercedes GLS 350D, the range-topping luxury SUV from the brand, effectively the S-Class equivalent. In fact, originally the GL class was named the S-Class of SUVs before Mercedes officially renamed it. GL stands for Geländewagen Luxus, or luxury off-road vehicle, and the S basically refers to the fact that the GLS ended up getting a bunch of S-Class luxury components. But just because it was built for luxury doesn't mean it couldn't do some off-roading, as it gets a low-range gearbox, a multi-plate center diff, and the airmatic suspension doubles up to raise the ride height for a bit of green laning and do at least some of what the G-Wagon can do. Like the S-Class, that Airmatic suspension also offered active curve tilting, so the suspension leans with the turns to reduce centrifugal force on the passengers, a nice luxury addition, though there were still some cost-saving exercises like having to manually recline the rear seat, quite unlike most competitors. In GLS 350D spec, these come with a 3-litre turbocharged V6 diesel engine, making 254 brake horsepower, taking them to 60 in 7.6 seconds, so despite that S-Class level of luxury, you are getting yourself the slowest and least powerful car on the list, which does make a difference in a big heavy car like this. A lot of luxury SUVs get cool parts like wine fridges. This sadly didn't get that, but owners do note a secret cubbyhole in the third row that fits exactly one wine bottle, perfect for the passengers on a long luxury cruise, though it is worth noting that cubbyhole was actually designed for a first aid kit. These are only around £20,000 at the bottom end, and for our 25k limit you'll get yourself a 2017 model with around 100,000 miles on the clock. The swirl flaps in the intake manifold are known to clog up with carbon deposits, which can sometimes require an entire replacement manifold. The air suspension can also go, and given this car is full of techie non-engine electricals, some of these systems can be prone to failure, like the infotainment and the air conditioning. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. If you are, then do hit like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. 72% of people watching right now are not subscribed. If that applies to you, then please do subscribe. And let me know in the comments down below, what is the greatest SUV of all time? Never thought about that question. Love to hear your thoughts. We're on to our 15k car now, the Porsche Cayenne S, specifically the hybrid model, which came with the second generation Cayenne. I think my personal favorite thing about this generation is that it didn't really age too aggressively. It looks so modern for a car that was released more than 15 years ago. Despite looking bigger and newer, it actually ended up being 250 kilograms lighter than the first generation, and it was more fuel efficient as a result too, which helps. It also got a slightly lower stance too, but maintained its off-road capabilities. Having recently done some off-roading in the most recent Cayenne generation, these things are surprisingly capable for what you'd expect to be a more sports-focused luxury SUV. The interior is very typically Porsche, nice premium space to be, but not overly luxury focused. If anything, this is probably the least luxurious car on the list, despite a nice build quality and a well-respected badge. It does get some cool features though in some specs, like an F1 inspired self-cleaning camera lens, which is a tiny air blast nozzle that blows debris off the reversing camera. It's a bit of a rogue powertrain for a Porsche, a 3-litre supercharged V6 which combines with an electric motor to produce 374 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 6.3 seconds, making it the second slowest car on the list because the car at number 1 is somehow quicker despite being half the price. I think despite not being the most luxurious, the Cayenne is probably the best value for money SUV on this list when you take badge, performance and price into account, and you don't have to go for the hybrid. Other powertrains are very available within our price range. You'll find these is anywhere from around £10,000, and 15k will get you a 2012 example that's done around 100,000 miles. There are some known issues with the transfer case, coolant leaks and the hybrid battery, which have contributed to this car's pretty severe fall in price. Faulty warning lights are also a pretty common topic on forums, as is the ludicrously high prices for servicing and maintenance, which kind of comes with the territory of buying into the Porsche family. Our final price cut now, and we're on to our 7.5k car, the Land Rover Range Rover Autobiography from the L322 generation. A car that was developed under BMW's ownership, but ended up being owned and released by Ford by the time it was released in 2002. The Autobiography spec is the top-end luxury model for the brand, but Land Rover nearly axed it in 2005 to replace it with a simpler designer's choice package. Ultimately, the dealer network said it was a terrible idea, given these ultra-luxury Landies were super popular amongst the wealthy in the Middle East and Russia, where autobiographies were effectively status symbols, so much so that Saudi royal family buyers apparently requested that the nameplate remained. With that in mind, you could get autobiographies with 24-karat gold trim elements, specifically developed by the Special Vehicle Operations team, mostly made available for the Middle East. In the UK, of course, most autobiographies were in a similar spec, with entertainment screens in the rear, nice premium materials, massaging seats and the likes, but even here there were a few mental models. MI6 and GCHQ used custom autobiographies for surveillance, and even the Queen had a custom autobiography with a special dog ramp to get her corgis into the boot more easily, and a one-off heated picnic box built into the rear center console. Apparently she also called the female voice sat-nav the woman under the bonnet too. Considering the price, you can get an absolutely massive engine as one of the options, a 5-litre supercharged V8 that makes a whopping 502 brake horsepower, taking this old barge to 60 in 6 seconds, a touch quicker than the Porsche. £5,000 the lowest that I could find these listed for, and 2.5k more than that will get you a 2012 model with high mileage. Timing chain terrain where supercharger failures and high oil consumption are very much known out of that engine at this point. The cooling system can also be prone to leaks, causing further issues down the line, and the air suspension has been known to fail too, particularly as this is the oldest car on the list. I'm ever the optimist when it comes to buying used cars, but I do hear a lot of sad stories about ownership experiences with old Range Rovers. So there you have it, 5 luxury SUVs for every price range. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then do hit like and subscribe. Thanks to patrons like you as well for watching. Click on screen to see my review of a ludicrously fast SUV.